class. I hope that you're studying for your first test. I put together a little Jeopardy review game to help you in your studying. So, social psychology for 100. What are some of the reasons not to rely on common sense to understand social behavior? What is? Because it provides an inconsistent and unreliable guide, and because our thinking is prone to several types of biases, which is a nice segue to the next question. The belief that a project will take less time to complete than it actually does describes what type of cognitive bias? What is the planning fallacy? Social Psych for 300. Why are we doomed to repeat the planning fallacy? What is? Because we have a tendency to think about the future when estimating how long a task will take. This prevents us from remembering how long similar tasks took in the past. The way we interpret, analyze, remember, and use information about the social world defines what? What are social cognitive processes? Social Psych for 500. Someone who's interested in studying the potential role of genetic factors in behavior takes which perspective? What is evolutionary psychology? Major avenues for 100. Research on what has helped provide a greater understanding of how people form impressions, choose to help others, and even comply with requests. What is emotions? Major avenues for 200. Describing the relationship between belonging to groups and well-being. Or you describe it. What is that relationship? What is belonging to multiple groups that people value increases people's well-being? So, for instance, you should join Psi Chi. Major avenues for 300. Researchers who are interested in studying the relationship between empathy and brain activity are what type of researchers? What is social neuroscience researchers? Major avenues for 400. The premise that we are sometimes unaware of why we dislike people upon initially meeting them describes what? What is the role of implicit or non-conscious processes? So, for instance, being unaware of holding stereotyped beliefs. For instance, rating men as more creative than women when posed with identical scenarios versus being directly asked about our beliefs. Look that one up if you need more clarification. Okay, major avenues for 500. Due to tremendous shifts in demographics since the 1960s, psychologists have increasingly recognized the importance of taking what into account? What is cultural factors and differences? Multicultural perspective is basically a focus on understanding the cultural and ethnic factors that influences social behavior. All right, research for 100. What are some of the advantages of the survey method? What is? Information can be gathered about large numbers of people. Researchers can obtain opinions about new social issues quickly. Research for 200. If there is a 0.37 correlation between physical attractiveness and dating frequency, what can we conclude? What is that more attractive people date more often than less attractive people? Research for 300. And I'll read this a little bit slow because I can't capture it on my screen. I apologize. A researcher wants to know whether writing an essay on a controversial topic will have an effect on the attitudes held by people. First, she administers an attitude survey that covers a large number of topics, including electronic voting machines. She then randomly assigns subjects to write an essay, either supporting or opposing electronic voting machines. 1 week later, she administers the same attitude survey and compares those responses to the responses from the first time the survey was administered. In this experiment, which is the independent variable and which is the dependent variable? What is? The independent variable is the essay, and the dependent variable is the attitude survey. You always want to think of it as cause and effect. The independent variable is the cause, the dependent variable is the effect. All right, research for 400. What are the two key requirements for the success of experimentation? What is? Random assignment and holding all factors other than the independent variable constant. All right, research for 500. All right, handling a gun increases aggression through increases in testosterone. What is the independent variable, the dependent variable, and the mediating variable? The independent variable is handling a gun, the dependent variable is aggression, and the mediating variable is testosterone. So for definition's sake, the mediating variable is affected by the independent variable and then influences a dependent variable. All right, theory for 100. Frameworks for explaining various events or processes are known as what? What is? Theories. Okay. Theory for 200. A theory is proposed based on what? What is? Existing evidence from research. So we have an idea about some aspect of behavior, and then we seek to explain the causes of that behavior. Theory for 300. The theory helps us to organize information related to the topic of interest, and it allows us to make what when we then, which we then what. What is? It helps us organize the information. It allows us to make predictions or hypotheses or educated guesses, which we then test by actual research. All right, research for 400. What happens to the theory if the results are consistent or inconsistent? If the results are consistent, then we have increased confidence in the theory. If the results are inconsistent, then the theory needs to be modified, or we end up rejecting it upon repeated failures to find what we're looking to see. 500. Theories are never what? What is proven? Theories are only either supported or not supported. So whenever you hear a strong word like proven, make sure that you know that that's not correct. Okay, balance for 100. What is one technique unique to social psychologists which differentiates them from researchers in other fields? What is the use of deception? If participants know the true purpose of a study, their behavior may be changed by having that knowledge. So sometimes the use of deception is necessary. What are some of the ethical issues that may result from the use of deception? What is? It may result in harm to those exposed to it, or participants may resent being duped during a study and reluctantly acquire negative attitudes towards social psychology or psychological research in general. Be able to think of an example of this. What are the two safeguards that should be used to help minimize the effects of deception? Informed consent and debriefing. Informed consent is giving participants as much information as possible about the procedures to be followed before they make a decision to participate. And debriefing provides participants with a full description of the purposes of a study after they've participated in it. Okay, balance for 400. Most participants report that they view temporary deception as acceptable, provided that what and what. What is provided that the potential benefits outweigh the costs, and if there is no other means of obtaining the information sought. And finally, for 500, all universities in the United States must have the ethics of proposed research reviewed by whom before it is conducted. What is an institutional review board? I hope that you've enjoyed our little recap of Chapter 1. On to the next one.